I'm super excited. Today we're going to be unboxing and talking about the Pop-Up Parade Seto Kaiba figure.
You don't have any idea what this thing means to me, Kaiba!
So you love your doll. How cute.
Okay, so a little bit of information about the figure before I unbox it and sort of review it and put it in my display case to show what it looks like. The figure was released in 2021 of October, so around the same time actually as the Yami Yugi and then the Dark Magician Girl one. So these are a new line of figures again. They're called Pop-Up Parade, where it's a separate line from like Figmas, Nendroids, and all those other, a little bit more expensive figures, where it's a little bit more on the entry point of 3,900 yen it retails for, as opposed to if you were to buy something like a Kotobukiya figure, which retails for around 89.99. So 3,500 yen is around like $35 US dollars. And when you look at like figures like Nendroids or Figmas or any other kind of figures that are a little bit on a higher price point, you'll see them at like around 60, 70, 80, 90, sometimes even like $100. Whereas this is on more of a affordable range. As for the details, what really interested me about this figure is that it's actually very, very detailed. When you look at the Kotobukiya one, where of course it's larger on scale, 1/7 scale, where the Pop-Up Parade one doesn't actually have a scale. I think it just says that it's 17 to 18 centimeters high. I'm going to compare them side by side so you see, compared to the Kotobukiya figure, how big it is. But so far, I do like the detail on the figure. The one gripe I would have is, again, when you see them side by side, same as the Yami Yugi figure, it's something about the skin color just looks really, really off to me. But let's take a look at the figure. Alright, so first we'll go over the box art and then kind of like a comparison between the Kotobukiya one and the Pop-Up Parade one, like the Yami Yugi figure. And if you can't tell by now, I'm actually a really big fan of Seto Kaiba. He's one of my favorite characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! He is my favorite character as compared to Yugi. And I just kind of have like a little bit of everything for him, like the Funkos, I love them. I mean, even like Starter Deck Kaiba was one of my, only starter decks I had. I actually didn't really like the starter deck Yugi that much. I only had one of them. But yeah, so anyways, so the difference between the two figures you'll see is that same as how the Yami Yugi one is, when you actually look at the colors, the Seto Kaiba one, I think it shows here where he's kind of like, I really don't know why he has this like really, really white and off color to them, where they haven't really nailed the skin tone of it, where it looks like a regular person, as opposed to if you see the Kotobukiya one, it just has this like nicer skin tone to it. The only difference I would probably say between the Kotobukiya one and this one is that the Kotobukiya one has the dual disc, but as compared to the Yami Yugi Pop-Up Parade one, I'm probably gonna put them side by side. I think they did the Seto Kaiba one way better, because the Seto Kaiba one, they actually have like a lot more detail on it. He has like a whole hand of cards that he holds, and he also has like his whole cape, whereas opposed to the Yami Yugi one, you don't have like that whole setup. It's just literally just his body, and he doesn't have like with his jacket on the back. But yeah, let's get to unboxing it first so we could go over this in detail. So now that we have him unboxed, I'm going to go over my thoughts about him as I kind of put him together. I also have the Pop-Up Parade Yugi here as well too. and then I'm just gonna do like a side-by-side comparison to just show what they kind of look like together. I would assume most people, if they're gonna buy one, if they buy the other or the Dark Magician Girl, they're gonna have it all in one display. I would assume later on they might actually do like the Blue Eyes White Dragon as well too. The initial gripe I think I do have, again, is the cards. These seem really, really easy to lose. Again, I do like the small detail that how he's supposed to hold the card is this card here is facing him, where it's supposed to show, I guess, it's supposed to show while like you're looking at him from behind, but I don't think most people will probably ever look at him from behind. The part that you see the most is probably like the front side, where it's just supposed to be the back side of the cards. So let's just put him on the base first. I actually realized after I actually had a gripe initially with the Yami Yugi figure, because I'm not, I guess the purple base kind of grew on me. And then now that I have the Kaiba one as well too, it's kind of hard to get these pegs in, I don't know why. Now that I have the Kaiba one as well too, I kind of realized why it has like the purple color and the blue color. I would assume purple is for Dark Magician and blue is for Blue Eyes White Dragon. I think that's what they were going for, that's why. So the gripe I have with these figures is that when they're holding these cards, it's literally held by tension between the plastic, right? Between the fingers. But the problem with that is that when you're having figures holding things by tension, over time, plastic will warp and it'll loosen. So if you have it like in a display case, for example, it's not too big of a deal, right? But if you were to have it not in a display case, where not everyone has a display case at home, where they're displaying their figures, the problem with that is that if these were to drop while you're moving, or you're moving your figures around or something like that, and it's not in the display case, good luck finding this, because if it falls under something like a table, a chair, I don't know, like between like something between your walls, you're never finding this ever again. I mean, I'm not gonna have this issue if it falls, if it's in my detail, but I would assume if I ever move, or if I'm moving my display around, then I'm probably gonna end up figuring out a way to like glue this onto his hand or tape it onto his hand. The problem with that is if you ever plan to use super glue, be very careful, because super glue is kind of like very, very messy to deal with. And once you have it on plastic, then it could kind of ruin it, because it's somewhat corrosive as well too. So I would be very careful of that. I would probably just suggest like, maybe if you have some kind of like a small piece of tape, and just cut like a very, very tiny piece to kind of wedge between the fingers that's out of sight that he's holding it. But yeah, I would really be careful if you're thinking like, oh, I don't want to lose the card and I want to use super glue on this. As for the actual figure itself, again, this is like a entry-level price point, where it's $35 as opposed to paying like $100 or like, you know, $50, $60 for like a Figma or something like that. And a lot of times with one-run figures like Kotobukiya ones, they once they go out of stock, that you probably never see them ever again, especially Yu-Gi-Oh figures. They seem pretty limited, and like just like they don't seem to have like long print runs. Once they sell out, they just sell out. Overall, I would say, like, compared to the Yami Yugi figure, I really like the Seto Kaiba one, because the Seto Kaiba one is a lot more detailed, whereas the Yami Yugi one kind of has this like really weird chain, and he doesn't have like his jacket on the back as of compared to the Kotobukiya one. This one is very, very detailed, is very dynamic. He has like the pose. There's like these like ripples in his coat. They have like the leather straps on his jacket, on his pants. He has like the details on the belt. They have like the Mokuba necklace, the card holding in his hand. The one gripe I would have about this would be that it has a seam line on top. I believe that seam line is from the other figure lines, like the Nendroids, the Figma figures, where his head, normally with Figma figures, the heads are interchangeable. Like they have like different faces or different hair, where you'd be able to pull this out and then swap out the face or the hair. But I don't really understand why they have this on this figure, since it's not a figure and it's more of like a tiny statue thing, and it's not interchangeable. So I'm not really sure why they would include this mold line there, which is kind of ugly. You don't really, notice it too much from afar, but I still think that it's sort of ugly. I don't think Yugi has this. Yeah, Yugi doesn't really have that kind of line. I'm not really sure why Kaiba has that weird line on his head, so I would say that's one gripe I think they should fix. Although, just to note again, these figures came out in 2021, so last year, like a couple months ago, so this is like a brand new line. Unless there was like a first print run that I don't know about. I would say like one thing they could work on again, skin color. It's just the skin tone is it's just kind of off. When you look at the promotional images, they look normal and they have like normal skin tone, but that's due to like lighting and Photoshop or whatever. But like in person, they have this like yellowish, like almost like they have jaundice kind of skin color, where you might not notice it like because my room lighting is warm in general. But it when I put it side by side, like in the beginning next to the Kotobukiya one, it just looks mildly off. But as for like overall first impression, I would probably say like these figures look really. This one, the Kaiba figure, looks great overall. You know, for something that's $35. But let's see how it looks in a display case. So I'm gonna do like a small montage of it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're back. If you didn't throw up from the montage, then congratulations, you made it through. Uh, I found out that you could actually kind of, I don't know if this is intentional, but I found out that you could actually line up these figures and they actually look really nice this way. So if you're looking to display both of them, then yeah, I would definitely go for it. If I were to give the figure a rating out of 10, I would probably give it like a 8 or a 9 out of 10. Again, it's not perfect. I would say like the seam line is kind of really ugly. I did have like certain quality issues where I had chips in the figure right out of the box. There was another one somewhere on the leg as well too. Like there's like a scratch that was on there right out of the box. So I don't know if it's just like a quality control issue since these figures are almost like pretty new. Again, the skin color is like really off. For some, to me, it just really bothers me. But as for like detail wise, I think this looks really, really, really nice. If you were to compare the price point between this and the Kotobukiya one, which if I could just kind of get here, the Kotobukiya one for what you pay for, I think like his head is kind of big, and the Kotobukiya one is like kind of a little bit weird, but it's a lot more detailed. But as for like compared to the two figures, I feel like the pop-up parade one is a lot more dynamic and looks a lot cooler in my opinion, especially the way his cape flares out. If I had a choice between the two, I would probably choose the pop-up parade one, to be honest. I'll probably have this on my display as opposed to the Art FX one, the Kotobukiya one, which is the 1/7 scale, and this leaves me a lot more room on my display to kind of just do other things. Compared to, I think, the Yami Yugi figure, I can't say I'm a fan. There's just so many things about the Yami Yugi figure that I just kind of don't really like. If they gave him kind of like the Kaiba treatment where they gave him more accessories like the cape with his jacket on, I think I would probably like this a lot more. Again, we could argue that the price point, you know, there's like an entry price point for a more affordable figure, but then when you have a figure like this Kaiba here, like that looks just so nice and so dynamic, is there really an excuse to not add more to the Yami Yugi figure? So that's it. This is a definite buy. If I were to give it a rating out of a 10, I would probably give it like an 8 or a 9. It's not a 10 perfect because nothing's really perfect ever. There's are flaws which I feel like they could work on. Again, these are new figures that came out in 2021, so it's still brand new, so I'm sure they could be doing like a lot more things, or maybe they'll take feedback from some people. I don't know. But I think the cards they need to work on is something that's just easily lost. If you move your figures around and it's not in the display case, Again, if you lose these, you're never seeing them ever again. And I'm not sure you can even get replacements. The skin color, again, it's a little bit off. The seam line on the head, it just really bothers me. But if you were to put it side by side and compare it to the Yami Yugi figure, this is way more detailed. If I were to choose between this one and the Kotobukiya one, honestly, I really like this one. I would probably have this one in my display case as opposed to the Kotobukiya one. Whereas the Yami Yugi one, I feel like they could have just gave him his jacket, and this would have been like a 9 or a 10 as well too. But definitely I would recommend this figure. But yeah, thank you for watching, and thank you everyone that's been subscribing to the channel and just liking the video and leaving comments. I really appreciate it. It makes me really happy that people are actually watching a video and enjoying it. If you want to see more content like this, or if there's anything else you want me to review, then let me know. Outside of that, thank you for watching and have a great day.